Welcome back, everybody, to Chase's Sports News. I am your host, Chase Coburn, here today. Today, I have a very special guest alongside me, Ben Casalinho, a NBA content creator on YouTube, on TikTok, on Instagram, and so many other platforms. Today, we're going to preview the 2025-26 NBA season. Ben, thanks so much for coming on the show today.
Chase, it's a pleasure, man. Appreciate you having me on.
Excited. Of course, we're so happy to have you here, and there's no better time than this, right? We're about to reach a point where we're going to have professional basketball, professional football, professional baseball, and professional hockey all going on simultaneously, plus college football, plus soon to be college basketball. It's kind of the epitome of what we love as sports fans.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be honest. I'm not a sports fanatic who's gonna tune into all those sports. I'm an NBA guy, so yeah, everyone else can have fun with those sports. I'm dialed in on the NBA season that starts tomorrow in OKC.
No, for sure. It's going to be a lot of fun. And over here on Chase Sports News, we do it all, but we are very, very big into the NBA. You know, obviously, I'm sure a lot of my audience saw, our video with the Makeshift Project, which did pop off, talking some all-time NBA. Today, we're going to talk some current NBA. And Ben, obviously, you're an expert when it comes to professional basketball. With the NBA season upon us, what really stood out to you from the offseason? Obviously, it's a big picture topic, but was there anything in particular that really stood out that you think is going to alter the NBA season this coming year?
From the offseason, I think what stands out the most to me is kind of how much the Eastern Conference is like being dismissed. So I think how we look at like the balance of power right now, everyone's talking about the West, right? Everyone's talking about how like basically you even hear people talk about like the Heat or the Raptors. You talk about like these like fringe East playoff teams, and it's like, oh, they're only going to make the playoffs because they're in the East, or they might only make the playoffs because they're in the East. I just feel the East in totality, when we look at like 12 deep down, like besides like Washington, Brooklyn, and like, sorry about Washington. Yeah. Like
I can relate there. It's all right. We've been living in the bottom for 50 years. It's all right.
Yeah, I think like there's a bunch of good teams in the Eastern Conference. I think the East is being dismissed way too strongly, and I think that the West is being propped up too heavily. I think people are probably looking into like teams like the Lakers with a bit too much stock. The teams like the Clippers, I think, are being really, really propped up when, there's still a ton of question marks around their health. And yeah, I just think the conferences, they're more balanced than people are making it out to be.
I guess I think where some of that disparity comes from is that, the Grizzlies were the 8th seed last year and they won 48 games as the 8th seed. The 8th seed last year in the NBA was the Miami Heat and they won 37 games. So I guess that's kind of where some people are coming
that was
from.
Also the play-in, though, Chase. The play-in tournament. Like, I think the 8th seed from the regular season was like the Hawks, right? Who won like 42?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
No, 40. They won 40. My bad. They won 40. But yes, it was. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I don't know. I think this year the conferences will surprise people. I'll say that. How they play out.
Yeah, for sure. I think the NBA is very unpredictable. I think for me, the Eastern Conference is very top heavy. I think you certainly have Cleveland and New York, and barring an injury or shocking disappointment, I don't see a way that those two aren't the top 2 seeds. There are just so many question marks. The only way I could see that not being the case is if Detroit or Orlando takes the massive leap. And for me, that's always how I try to think about the NBA season is who can be the team that can take the massive leap that can kind of change everything, kind of like the.
Oh, you want to hear my team?
Yep, go for it.
You want to hear my team is the Philadelphia 76ers.
Yep.
No, they're the team because this is kind of my point. I'm so tired of people just totally ruling this team out. Like, I don't think Paul George and what he looks like this season really matters that much. Let's say Paul George hypothetically, has regressed, right? His injuries have caught up to him. He's like a 15-point per game guy now. He simply doesn't have the same explosiveness, whatever. If Joel Embiid is the guy we saw in January 2024, the Sixers are the 3 seed. I mean, I think pretty clear cut. They're in the top 3 with Cleveland and New York. I think it's that simple. And I think they're like, as a Knicks, I think the Knicks, the Cavs, they should be scared of Philadelphia with Embiid.
I guess here's the problem is how many games is he going to play? And I understand how it's so hard to predict injury. I try to go into the season.
He's healthy right now, though.
Injuries. How long is that going to last? 2 weeks?
But Chase, last season, this was not the case. So last season, at this time last year, he was not playing the opener. As of right now, what we can go off of is the facts. And the facts right now is he's going to play versus Boston on Wednesday night, 2 nights from now. So, and he played in the final preseason game, which I think matters a lot. I think him playing that preseason game kind of shows you where he's at. I mean, if he wasn't close, if he wasn't actually 100% healthy, because think about the Sixers' perspective, they probably have PTSD, the trauma of like, oh, this guy's never been healthy for the playoffs. Think about the trauma that this team carries with them with Joel Embiid. The fact that they're trusting him to be open or to be out the gate in October, it's like if I'm Philly, you would think they would be more cautious, like overly cautious. Be like, even if we think he's ready, let's just not actually put him out until like December 1st because we don't actually need him right now. Why do we have Jared McCain, we have Quentin Grimes, who obviously showed what he can do last year at the end of last year. Tyrese Maxey, VJ Edgecombe, who is an exciting young player. So I think if I'm Philly, like the fact that he's playing opening night, I think has to like get your eyes popping of excitement.
True. No, I guess my biggest problem is like we talk about all those things. You say Paul George, that's a component, and I know what you mean. I'm not trying to twist your words here. How kind of that's a component that doesn't matter as much. I disagree there. I still think we're overrating a little bit Tyrese Maxey. I think some of his point totals last year were skewed a little bit because PG and Embiid were off the floor. And I think maybe we're going to see some of his numbers, quote unquote, regulate this year. But I mean, we can get into this real quick. And real quick, we're not going to do this the whole episode because I know you guys also want to see our beautiful faces. But we got the standings up here. I got tentatively what my standings are going to be. And then what you had your standings on your channel.
Yes.
And kind of just comparing them a little bit. And we'll start
okay, let's see this, Chase.
Here for a minute. So yeah, I mean, for me, Washington and Brooklyn are in the basement of the league. Or of the league, of the conference, everything.
Of the Eastern Conference.
Yeah. They're completely horrific. They're terrible. I've accepted that for a very long time. When it comes to the Indiana Pacers, I know you had them, you said it on your video, just missing the playoffs, almost as if you had to like justify it. I can't justify them in the play-in personally. I don't understand what they have, particularly after losing Miles Turner without Tyrese Halliburton. I don't think there's a number one there that can kind of lead the charge to success, if you will.
I think what intrigues me about the Pacers is just the pace of play they play at. And I love TJ McConnell. I love Andrew Nembhard. I mean, I think these are two. I think Andrew Nembhard is a guy where we're going to see a big leap this year out of him. I mean, the opportunity is going to be there. And then I look at Benedict Mathurin scoring punch that, he's got the opportunity now to really show. I mean, as we saw in the preseason, I mean, I know it's the preseason, but I think he's the guy that you watched the finals last year, what he did off the bench. I think he's a guy. It's like, okay, like with Tyrese Halliburton out, he's the obvious guy who's about to step up and really increase his point total, increase his usage rate, etc. So I think like they were leading at halftime of Game 7 without Tyrese Halliburton of the NBA Finals. Rick Carlisle's a hell of a coach, probably one of the two best coaches in the NBA, the three best coaches in the NBA. This is like it's a well-oiled machine. And what they did, even without Tyrese Halliburton, you look at like the lineup data, I think they should be able to at least compete in the regular season. And I think get like 36 wins. That's what I have now, like 35, 36 wins, something like that.
I understand what you're saying. I like how the roster is constructed. Rick Carlisle's a good coach. I understand all those components. I just don't know. I have a social studies teacher, and he always says, you can identify engine parts, but what's going to be the connector to all those engine parts to make the engine, essentially? And I think that was Tyrese Halliburton. And I think that Pascal Siakam can have a fine season. I'm also staring in my face right now. I'm staring at the depth chart where Isaiah Jackson is your starting center. And I think that the loss of Miles Turner is really going to hit them as well. And I just don't know. You mentioned the pace of play. Ideally, it still works, but how much does that work without Halliburton? I just think that, like, we heard the overrated, and I think some people were getting tired of the whole Tyrese Halliburton chatter after the postseason, after the buzzer beaters he hit and the big shots throughout the postseason. I just think that right now people are underestimating just a little bit how great of an impact he had. And I think if we're going to talk about impact, though, as a whole, Giannis, if the Bucks are a top 4 seed, you should ship the MVP trophy to Giannis's house.
Yeah, I mean, you have the Bucks. I see that at 5th. That Chase, I'm not seeing the vision here. I'm not seeing the vision from just everything outside of Giannis. Look, I get it.
They have Giannis. That's the thing. They have one of the 3 best players in the world on their team, and to me, that matters.
I think for me, the NBA now is a weird landscape, and you kind of saw it in 2023 with Luka and the Mavs. If I refresh your memory, Luka Doncic is like the best player in the NBA in 2023, one of the 5 best, first team All NBA, and they missed the playoffs. They missed the play-in. They were the 11th seed. I mean, I think these things, like, it's not the NBA like the early 2010s where if you have LeBron, like, you're gonna make the playoffs no matter what. I don't even think like any one individual player can drag a team to the playoffs, or like can drag a team to like a really firm seed at number 5. Like, sure, I have him at 7, but at number 5, that seems high. But look, that's not crazy. It's not crazy. But
Here's just my thought process around it, because I know you're low on Atlanta too, and I can see the red flags there with the Hawks. I just think if you get the backcourt to stay healthy, I like Jalen Johnson, Reese Shea takes another leap, all of that. But they're going to be in the mix as well. The East is a little kind of tight toward that play-in margin. For me, though, here's what I'm going to ask you: when you compare Boston and Milwaukee, how do you trust Boston over Milwaukee when one team has Giannis and one team has Jaylen Brown? Like, we are living in a stars league in the NBA. And I that's where I disagree with you. I think that one star can kind of carry a team on his back in a sense, if you're that great.
I mean, with Boston, we still have our guard and forward rotation from, the good days. The center rotation, with now losing, obviously, Cornette, you lose Al Horford, you lose Porzingis, like, sure, you lose a lot of pieces there, right? I mean, their starting center, I think, is going to be Neemias Queta, who, I don't know if I botched the pronunciation, but he's going to be the starting center on opening night. So obviously that's not the most ideal, right? But you still have Derek White, Peyton Pritchard, Jaylen Brown. I mean, I still like Derek White and Jaylen Brown, at least, that tandem. And I think Peyton Pritchard is a guy who I look at is, who could break out. And I think we haven't seen Boston. Maybe it's just a bias of like we haven't seen Boston like ever be bad. Like, I just trust. I trust the infrastructure in place to just stay in the playoffs. I mean, come on, just to be a playoff team. And Tatum, he'll come back maybe potentially in like March. We'll see. But
I just don't know if, like, because frankly, for me, saying that Boston's going to be 6th and then saying the East is strong don't align, because you mentioned some of those weaknesses. Like, I get the stats say that Jaylen Brown has been a better player without Jason Tatum in the lineup, but we really haven't seen a stretch where Tatum has been off the floor for a significant amount of time, like we're about to see, which is most likely the entire regular season. For me, the biggest question is, what is Jaylen Brown without Jason Tatum? And then the scoring that you are missing, who's going to pick up those pieces? Is it Anthony Simons?
It's Peyton Pritchard and Anthony. It's Peyton Pritchard and Anthony Simons. Yeah, it's those two guys. I mean, you can think of that what you want, but I think it's going to be those two guys who do that. I mean, look, I think the main thing with Boston is their center rotation. Like their guard rotation is there. I mean, you still have Jaylen Brown and Derek White are 2 top 30 players. 2 top 30
I got this
players.
question for you, though. Is they all just they played so well around each other, right? That's kind of the big thing, is like when all 5 of them were together, the Derek White, Drew Holiday, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and Kristaps Porzingis, and you have the Al Horfords and the Peyton Pritchards and stuff. When you can get those guys coming off the bench, and then you have those 5 guys healthy, they all played around each other so well. But now those components are missing. You no longer have Porzingis. You don't have Al Horford.
But they played 51 games. That 5-man unit played 51 games in the 2 years there. They didn't play much. Porzingis was rarely there. I mean, you saw.
And now you're missing 3 of those guys, I guess is what I'm saying. I guess
my point is they've already done this without Porzingis. Like I think the Porzingis loss is being overblown a bit. Like they played, I think, 4 of the 5 finals games without 3 of the 5 finals games without Porzingis. I think games 3, 4, and 5. I know he played game 5, but he missed games 3 and 4. Like he. In that whole playoff run, he barely played. I think he played like 5 games in that playoff run, the 24 championship. So I'm not really sweating over that. I mean, we kind of saw what kind of player Drew Holiday was last year offensively in the Knicks series. He was not good at all. I'm not really. Look, maybe, and look, we'll see. I think what scares me about Boston is, do they make any more like salary chipping moves at the deadline to shave salary and like get under the tax completely? I don't believe they're actually under like the tax period. With this roster, like, I mean, the starting 5 of Derek White, Anthony Simons, Jaylen Brown, Sam Hauser, Queta.
That's not screaming 6 seed to me. It's not.
Peyton Pritchard off the bench. I like this team. I like it. I don't think it's Chris Boucher. I don't think this is like a terrible team.
I'm not saying it's terrible. I guess here's where I lie, I guess, is I think in sports, in any sport, this is very evident in football as well. A lot of things are situational. A lot of players are elevated by elite players and elite situations that they're put in. Sure, the situation in the system and that kind of the brand and the foundation that the Celtics have set that you talked about earlier, that's still there, right? Joe Mazzulla is still the coach, all of that stuff. But to me, how is Derek White without Drew Holiday defensively, at least, taking that kind of a responsibility? Or how is Jaylen Brown without the threat of Jason Tatum as a scorer? I just think it's very easy to think of these guys as what they were and how efficient they were with all of them together on the floor. But I don't know how it works without, again, kind of the connecting part of the engine, if you will, Jason Tatum. And so, and I have a lot of trouble trusting a front court that consists of Sam Hauser and Nimi Asketa. I'm having a lot of trouble fathoming trusting that. You know, maybe Jaylen Brown emerges, but I guess that's where my concern lies.
Yeah, no, we'll see about that.
All right, let's talk about another team in the East. I want to talk about the Hawks a little bit. I think that Porzingis move is a little bit overrated. I know you have them missing the playoffs entirely. They were kind of the darlings of the offseason in a sense. And I guess you can argue, is Trae, you can have the whole Trae Young conversation and all that. I personally do like the construction of the team. I'm just kind of curious, well, how come you have them outside of the play-in or barely in the play-in, outside of the postseason picture?
I think the main concern is just shot creation. I mean, I don't know, like when you look at the roster, the starting five, Dyson, Trae, Zach, Reese-Shea, Jalen Johnson, Porzingis. I mean, Reese-Shea obviously can create some, but I just worry about outside of Trae. Like, I worry about just how much he's going to have on his plate from a playmaking perspective. I mean, over the last 5 years, you see his usage rate with how much he's scoring and assisting. It's almost too much on one player. He's averaging 12 assists a game, 25. I mean, he's doing a lot he's been doing a lot for the Hawks. He's been, I think, one of the more underrated players in the league the past 3-4 years. I mean, just his assist totals are just through the roof. And I just wonder if that's too much burden on one player. And especially given the health of a Jalen Johnson, Jalen Johnson, if he's healthy, he could be an all-star. He could be an all-star. He's that good.
Yep.
But I don't know. I mean, he only played 30 games last year.
Yeah.
So in 56 the year before, I mean, he hasn't been. But look, I mean, I guess if he's healthy, but even if he's healthy, I'm not really buying the construction, I guess, of the shot. I just wonder, okay, what moves they made this offseason? Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Luke Kennard, Porzingis. I need somebody who's actually going to create the ball without Trae's help. And
that's fair. I think that's
can Reese-Shea in year 2 do that? I think Reese-Shea in year 2, maybe he does step up to the plate and do that. But I need
how about Dyson Daniels? I mean, we obviously all know what he is defensively. Do you think Dyson Daniels could at least just fill the facilitating part and allow Trae to be more mature?
No, I think for sure. I mean, I think the vision for this roster, if Trae can be that ultimate just point god. The vision for this roster is there. I mean, you see the defensively, they're going to be really good, right? They're going to be really good. I just wonder, are they going to be able to put enough points on the board on a consistent basis? Because I think that's what you saw in the playing game versus Orlando. I mean, even the playing game in the fourth quarter versus Miami, just how much everything was running through Trae. Just it feels like they stagnate in these big moments where you need a bucket. And you see these in the playoffs in 23 versus Celtics, right? They got manhandled that series. In game 1 in particular, I remember watching game 1. That was I know they pushed it to 6 games, but that game, and that was even because the game winner from Trae in game 5 went out to DeJounte. But I just look at a team like this, I don't know. I don't trust Trae to do this much and carry them to a playoff berth.
How about this though? Do you think that, I know they said they've shut down trade offers and all that. Could you see the Hawks trying to go after a guy like a Kobe White and try to get another playmaker? Or do you think this is just going to be what the team is? Because I'm almost curious if they kind of reassess at the deadline a little bit. Because you're right, Trae is really the only quote unquote playmaker. I just think if you put Trae in the playmaking role, they have enough scorers. I think you could see Reese-Shea and Johnson, if they can play together for 50 games, you could see a strong record there if Trey is the primary ball handler. If Trey goes down, I agree with you. This team is in trouble. But I'm almost curious if they kind of add that extra insurance at the deadline with another playmaker. Maybe not even the caliber of Kobe White, but at least like a Dennis Schroeder type person, just someone else who can handle the ball.
I think, I mean, that we'll see how it plays out, right? Well, if they're playing at the 10 seed level, like I predict, I mean, yeah, they're going to have to do something, but they've invested so much capital in this team that I don't really see them making a move unless things are really bad in like December. Like maybe in December, if they're like 10-14, maybe, but like, things would have to go bad, right? I think even if they're like battling between like they're like 18-18, I think they're just going to stay put because they've invested a lot.
Here's the thing is I think that like overall in the NBA, we could talk about these certain teams. I would put a lot of money down on the table. The Atlanta Hawks ain't winning the NBA championship this season, right? Maybe they have a good regular season. Maybe you can get a 3 seed. The Hawks ain't winning the title this year. So I think it almost gets to the conversation of like, sure, this construction looks nice. Maybe they have a nice regular season, right? At some point, they're going to fall short in the East. And I think that's an Eastern Conference that's wide open. At some point, if you're Atlanta, at what point do you end the Trae Young experiment? I know he's a hard player to get rid of. He's done so much for the franchise, but like at some point, like it's not.
I don't even think this is Trae's fault.
I know it's not, but I'm just saying, like, eventually you got to rebuild at some point, right? Hit the reset button.
My thinking on Atlanta at 10 and my thinking over just watching Atlanta last year, right? Watching Atlanta's team last year that was the 8th seed after the regular season and then lost the 2 playing games to drop out, is I just watch a team that is being backpacked by Trae. I mean, there's no creation. Not even forget playmaking. Do I really trust Zachary Reese-Shea, Jalen Johnson to create their own shot? I mean, I don't trust these guys as shot creators in big moments.
Right.
Like,
so that's what I'm saying too, though, is like it's probably not going to work. So at what point do you just say end it? Like just restart the whole thing.
See, I wouldn't. I'm a big Trae fan. I would not trade Trae because I think he's a really good player. I think there's the flaws with this roster are the fact that they just simply need a second true shot creator. And I think the reality is, and look, because they have the New Orleans pick swap. That could be pretty important, this time, like next June, right?
That was a terrible trade for the Pelicans.
I think for Atlanta, I think you have to stay patient. I think Trae's committed to the team. And obviously, you see Atlanta's not really committed to Trae by, not giving him a contract extension. So you can tell, I mean, they're certainly kind of aligning with your logic a bit that, maybe it's the experiment's over, but we'll see. We'll see. Clearly they're not sold on giving him a max contract. I think they want him back, but I don't know if they want to give him a max contract. And that's kind of where the stall is happening right now.
All right, so Ben, here's the thing. Before we move on to the Western Conference, for me, I think what makes the East weaker than the West by a wide margin is the West has, I think, a few like legitimate contenders if the pieces align. And they have the reigning champion, who some people are calling to win 70 games this year. They won 68 last year, and Chet was hardly on the floor. So it's like they have a lot of teams that I feel like could reach that like elite stature in the NBA, and that includes Oklahoma City, who could chase history this year if things go well. In the East, I've never been in love with Cleveland, and I've never been in love with New York. And I understand, like, eventually, like, they're just too talented that, like, they're going to be right there. But, like, I've never loved it. And, like, I never loved Boston either, right? Like, I had Boston winning one year, and then they lost to the Warriors, and I'm just like, maybe they're going to be the team that comes close to every year and never does it. And then they finally did get over the hump. So maybe I'm going to be wrong there. I feel like they're a little kind of similar to Cleveland in a sense. But, like, I don't love either. Like, I feel like this could be a year where, like, if Paolo takes a jump or if Cade takes a jump, again, I am circling Orlando and Detroit as the 2 sleepers who could be like this year's Indiana, right? Who you get in, you're a 4 or a 5 seed, and you get hot at the right time with a star player who can.
Yeah, but Indiana had made the conference finals in 24. They had made I don't think like Orlando and Detroit are just going to make this massive. Indiana was already a good team. I mean, that's kind of revisionist history to act like there was some surprise team out of nowhere. They just boomed.
How about the Miami Heat in 2020?
I mean, but they added Jimmy Butler. That was a big offseason addition. I mean, adding Jimmy Butler, one of the best players in the game, all NBA. I mean, I agree. The Magic and Pistons could be there. Chase, I think you're sleeping on the Knicks and Cavs, both these teams. First of all, the Cavs, I'm a big fan of continuity, right? Like, people are too quick to jump the gun on blowing these teams up. Cavs, I like what they did. Just stay put. Let's just run it back another year. See what happens. And I think having Darius Garland healthy now, I mean, he's probably not going to – look, they had their injury concerns, and obviously there was a questioning of their mental toughness or their toughness period with him and Evan Mobley and how they missed – I believe they missed game 1, I believe, of the Indiana series. I think they both came back for game 2. No, they didn't come back for game 2. And then they came back for game 3, but whatever. I think the Cavs run it back. I think they'll be in the mix again. New York, you have a new coach now. I think Tibbs, you saw the flaws offensively with the lineup combinations. I mean, Deuce McBride just didn't play enough. There was a lot of questionable lineup combinations.
I'm not saying the Mike Brown hiring was bad. I think Mike Brown's a very good coach in this league. He should not have been fired by Sacramento, but that's a different conversation. Tibbs should not have been fired, in my opinion. I don't think he should have. Maybe we disagree there. Maybe you don't like some of the changes he made with the lineup, but the biggest concern afterwards was like, okay, New York doesn't have enough depth. Like, depth was their prized possession for years, and they decided to go and get Mikal Bridges. They decided to go and get Karl Anthony Towns. So when you try to make your starting 5 the best in the NBA, you are going to sacrifice depth. I just feel like there was nothing
the depth wasn't why they lost.
Do to win. There was nothing they could do to make the fans satisfied. You either don't have enough star power or you don't have enough depth. Maybe there's a gray area they could have met. But
I think when you invest 5 first-round picks into Mikal Bridges and then you don't maximize him as a player, you hear the frustration from him after the Portland game about how, he thinks they're playing too many minutes. When you hear stuff like that, where you as a franchise, you invest 5 first-round picks into a player, and then he's already showing, rumblings of being disgruntled, I think you have to make a change. Mikal Bridges, I think that's probably like the number one reason he was fired is probably because of Mikal Bridges and how they didn't get the most out of him. Because I think when you're trading 5 first-round picks for a player, you're expecting him to do more than what he did last season. And I just think offensively, Mike Brown is much more innovative. And look, I think you need just somebody. You needed a different voice in the locker room, right? Like,
right.
Clearly, someone was off with that. So, best of luck.
No, I think the whole different voice in the change argument was kind of look. I know you said you're not a big your NBA is your forte, but I'm a dire Baltimore Ravens fan in football, and for as good as John Harbaugh has been as a head coach for years, my biggest argument is like the message it just isn't resonating anymore. They just need a new voice and a new captain of the locker room, and maybe that's part of the strategy as well. Look, maybe it's New York, maybe it's Cleveland. I have my official predictions coming out tomorrow as we're recording this on Monday. It's going to be a last-minute decision for me. I think the East is wide open. I don't think there is that elite prize possession that we do have over in the Western Conference. And I think that is going to shake things up in the East and make it interesting. Or maybe if Philadelphia is healthy, all of a sudden they're a prominent contender again, and they're the favorites coming out of the East. Where all of a sudden, if Atlanta can get another ball handler, or if Reese Shea takes a big step, now all of a sudden they're a prominent contender. And then Cleveland and New York are going to be in the mix. I think we are in 100% for a very, very interesting Eastern Conference this year.
For sure.
But the West is still very, very, very good. Like, let's not sleep on what this Western Conference has, because again, like we saw last year, seeds 2 through like 8 or 9, I think they're going to be separated. I think it was last year, like seeds 2 through 8 were separated by 5 games. I think we could see something like that again. I think it's so obvious that if they even stay relatively healthy, that Oklahoma City is going to finish first in the Western Conference. But I had so much trouble shuffling between Denver and Houston. Like, there was a point where I had Houston 2 when I was doing my standings, and I had Denver 6. And now I have Denver 2 and Houston 8. Like, they're all just going to be beating up on each other the entire season. It's going to be decided in the last week. So I have the standings comparisons there. Just kind of break down what stands out to you in the Western Conference. And then I know that you're a little bit higher on New Orleans than I am, but I'm a little bit higher on Portland than you are.
I mean, the first thing that stands out is Houston at 8. Obviously, I think that it's I don't hate it. It's like, wow. It's like Houston, like you add, I think that would be an interesting situation to end up if you're Houston. You were the number 2 seed, you add Kevin Durant, and you end up at the 8th seed, not even to the fault of Kevin Durant, underperforming. Like if they're the 8th seed, it probably has nothing to do with KD. Just Fred
Here's the
VanVleet,
thing.
stuff like that.
Here's the thing, Ben. I love Kevin Durant. We commented on that one video I had. Always love Kevin Durant, one of my favorite players ever, like one of the greatest pure scorers we've ever seen play the game.
But go on.
I feel like I've seen this before. I feel like we just saw this with Phoenix, where you're a prominent
This is not
contender.
the same team. This is not the same team.
I understand, but it's also a situation of like you are a young team with some veteran presence, and you put your chips in the basket of a 37-year-old veteran. And I'm not saying that that's all they have, because I don't think, even though Jalen Green was our leading scorer last year, it's not like he was like this like overarching, star that they got rid of for Kevin Durant. And it's not like they sacrificed too much depth either. I thought the trade was a good trade. I just think in a really, really tight Western Conference, is Kevin Durant gonna get you anywhere? Reed Shepherd right now is a starting point guard. So,
did you see the
Yeah,
lineup came out? Did you see like the lineup they're starting opening night though?
No, I did not.
They're starting Amen Thompson at the point guard with for Steven Adams, Alperen Sengun, KD, and Jabari Smith. I'm tripping on that. So yeah,
I don't think that it's. I don't know what it is. It's just I feel like I've seen a rodeo like this before, where Houston was the 2 last year, right? They were the 2 and all that, but there's also a reason why they were bounced by Golden State. It's because they didn't have the consistency. Does Durant add that? Possibly, but I still feel like there are a lot of risks with this team.
I think Jalen Green was one of the more like polarizing players, because it felt like at times he was almost hurting them, but he was their leading scorer, but he was almost hurting them, and he was in that playoff series versus Golden State. I mean, they were better in those lineups without him on the floor. So I think that's something to watch out for. I think KD's going to help them a lot. I don't have Houston now. I have them at 6, but I kind of, and I think I said this before, I split the Western Conference in like 3 tiers in the playoffs. Like I see the top as Denver, Golden State, OKC. I think those teams could all win the West. Everyone else, I don't really think can win the West, to be honest. I don't think Minnesota can win the West. I don't think LA can win the West. I don't think Houston can win the West. And then definitely not San Antonio. Dallas, I mean, if Kyrie, I think he's a major. I think Kyrie could potentially catapult Dallas to the top 3. I mean,
nope. This is where I'm going to jump in. I hate the Dallas hype. Cannot stand it whatsoever. They are the most overrated team in the entire NBA. The most. And I understand we have them like right near each other in the standings, but there is not a single universe, unless it's a utopian, dystopian universe that we are in, where the Dallas Mavericks are winning an NBA championship or coming close. Absolutely zero world where it happens. Anthony Davis, little bit, I feel like you went from underhyped to a little bit overhyped. Cooper Flagg, a little bit overrated. When is Kyrie going to come back? What does Kyrie look like at this age, coming off of a serious leg injury? I think that we are a little bit overrating some of the pieces that Dallas does have. And to me, to win an NBA title, you need an elite, dominant number 1 player. Dallas doesn't have that. So sure, maybe they can get into the second round if the chips, let the chips fall and as they may. But I can't see Dallas getting any farther than the second round with the construction of this roster. I can't see it.
Dallas's roster is constructed like a unicorn, though. I mean, we haven't seen a team built like this stacked defensively from a rim protection standpoint, from a front court standpoint. I'm super excited to watch this Dallas team. I mean, the fact that Cooper Flagg's me their small forward, Cooper Flagg 80, Derek Lively. I mean, you roll out a team like that, I think like I'm excited. I think Cooper Flagg has the capability to be one of those rookies like a Melo, like a LeBron, like a Luka. Like he comes in right away averaging like 18 points. Like he's that guy right away. He's a guy who's a fringe all-star right away. And
do you think we're overrating Cooper Flagg a little bit?
I don't. I mean, he was there was a reason why he was like one of 5 players to do what he did in college with all his like I'm sure you know that, like the National Player of the Year, he averaged 3 blocks. He did all the. I mean, he's that guy. He's that guy. I mean, you just watch him, it jumps out to you. Like I was obviously at Syracuse for the game that he had a goose. And, I mean, dude, he's a good player, really good player. So I'm super excited to watch Cooper. And look, I think when you have PJ Washington, Daniel Gafford, Derek Lively, Anthony Davis, like those 5 players in your front court. I mean, there's no team that comes even remotely close to having that to match that. There's no team that can match that in the NBA. And I think that the one point is about Kyrie, like how good will Kyrie be when he comes back? It's fair. Could he be the number one option on a championship team? From a scoring perspective, I think you have a fair point with that. But
all right, Ben, here's what I'll ask you, right? I'm looking at this team. Maybe that's Kyrie because of his experience. If he's able to come back by February, March, April before the postseason, if Dallas is in the mix. Until February, who's taking the final shot on this team? And do you trust them to make that final shot?
I mean, I do trust D'Angelo Russell in the regular season. I do trust, I do. Chase, I think you're overblown. I think it's regular season basketball for December, November, October. I think Dallas is going to be such a good I think Dallas is going to be a team where they're going to be stacking wins. I think they're going to be stacking wins. I think Dallas, even without Kyrie, is going to be a pretty good team, which is why I have them at the 8th spot. I think they're going to stay around 500 until Kyrie gets back, and then they're going to catapult to the 44 win mark, 45 wins. I think that's going to be enough to get in.
A hard time, personally, where I'm looking at a basketball team right now, and I think it's going to be maybe trying to fight in a very, very competitive Western Conference. And you just told me that the guy who's taking the final shot until February and is trying to make the big plays in the big moments is D'Angelo Russell. And I guess
Flagg. I mean, you see Point Flagg. It could be Cooper. I mean, we don't know.
I saw Cooper Flagg in the Final Four too, blow away a game for Duke. So that's what I'm saying. I think watch the Cooper Flagg under the pressure, under the bright lights is going to be a storyline after the season. Trust me.
Come on, Chase. That's ridiculous. He's the most hyped up prospect.
Talk about it now. I'm telling you, this is going to be a big problem.
I can't even believe what I'm hearing right now because he was the most. Think about all the high school games Cooper has. Think about all the high school games, all the college games. This guy's been playing his big game since he was 14 years old. This is what he does. I don't think he's scared of the lights. If there's a type of player who's not scared of lights, it's the Zions, it's the Cooper Flaggs, it's the LeBrons who've had media attention around him since they were 13 years old. Every game when he was a freshman in high school, there was people covering his game, media outlets going to his game. I don't think he's scared of this at all. I don't at all.
It's not that he's scared of it. I've seen a lot of Cooper Flagg with Duke. Again, they don't have 4 quarters, but kind of in what would be that fourth quarter range. And I don't think he's the same player that he was in the first 3/4 of the game.
We'll see. I'm excited about Coop in Dallas, and I think we'll find out. We'll find out soon enough.
We're certainly going to find out. A team that I am very high on that is very, very good, and I think it's kind of resurrected themselves is Denver. They won a championship a few years ago. I did predict it before the postseason. I think it was the 4th year in a row I predicted the right team to win the championship going into the playoffs. So just, kind of a little bit of a flex there. But in terms
of the Bucks in 2021, no, you didn't.
Yes, I did. I have 100% proof of it.
All right, well, that's a poll. The other ones, that's not. The Warriors were kind of seen, and the Lakers, I think, the year before, right? So it's like.
Wait, that was the only one. I picked the Celtics to win instead of the Warriors, ended up making the finals. The other ones, okay. I had the Lakers in 2020, the Bucks in 21, the Celtics in 22. They made the finals, and then I had the Nuggets in 23. Recent years, it hasn't gone as well. I had Boston last year. I had Minnesota the year.
Wait, I think I picked the Thunder on your podcast last year. I'm pretty sure.
I think you did. We have to go back and look.
We have to go. I think it was Thunder Celtics. I don't know who I picked, the Thunder or the Celtics. That was my finals prediction, Thunder Celtics. I don't know who I picked though. We'll see. Anyway.
You know what's interesting is we could talk about Denver in a minute. I feel like I'm in a boat in the NBA where we're in the middle of transitioning eras. I feel like we're LeBron, Steph, and KD. They're still prominent stars, but they're not running the league anymore like they used to. And it's not even the Giannis's or the Kawhis right now that are doing it either, kind of like we're in both eras in a sense. And I guess I've had so much trouble trusting some of the new hot thing on the block teams in the NBA. I had a hard time trusting Boston until they did it. I had a hard time trusting Oklahoma City until they did it. Maybe that's where Cleveland or New York does it. Another team where I'm just I got to see it to believe it. But I feel right now we're in a spot in the NBA where I still feel I'd have a lot more faith in
because
LeBron James. It's still hard for me to go out there and pick an Oklahoma City team. It's just until they do it, and now they have, and now obviously you get that extra element of perspective.
I mean, I think what you're saying is is absolutely what I think is obvious. Like, it's a different NBA from the perspective of what I said with Luka Doncic in 2023. A player of Luka's caliber in 2010 would never miss the playoffs in his prime, ever. But he missed the playoffs. They were the 11 seed Dallas, and he played like 70 games. He was first team All NBA, and they missed the playoffs. You would not see that in like 2012. If you LeBron in 2000, and I think he missed the playoffs in 03, and 04, and 05, but he made the playoffs in 06 with a terrible Cavs team in 06. They took the Pistons to 7 games in the semis. Like, you don't see teams that are just have the Giannis, have this like have a star player, and like they could have like a terrible roster around them and then still make the playoffs. If they have you have a bad roster around you, if you don't have a good 5-6 man core, like you're gonna struggle. Even if you have the Jokic, like because you wouldn't see a lot of what you're seeing now back in like 2018. It's a much more balanced league with parity. It's a much more it's the depth thing is a little bit over. It's not like you need like 8. You need like 5 good players. Your starting 5 has to be really good. Like, and I think a lot of teams don't have that great starting 5. And I think that's what New York and Cleveland have, though. I think those teams have.
Your standings reflect that. Your standings for sure don't value as much the high-level star power or the tremendous amount of depth that can allow you to run a 9-10 man rotation. You're kind of in a sweet spot in a sense.
I think Minnesota and like the Lakers are 2 teams I look at here. Just I think because those teams have good starting 5s. I just don't trust. I don't trust Minnesota. I don't know. I don't trust Minnesota. I mean, they lost Nickeil Alexander-Walker. I think that's a big loss. Yeah, I'm just scared of Minnesota because you made the conference finals back-to-back years, and it's like I think that might have been the peak of this team. I think if you're them, you have to that might have been the peak. That was it, and this is kind of downhill from here.
Yeah, I mean, for me, until proven otherwise, they're going to be in the mix just with Anthony Edwards. Like, you want to talk about a guy who does play really well under the bright lights. Like, he's proven that now on multiple different occasions. I just think you're right. Like, if they're playing a fully loaded Oklahoma City team, like, let's not overthink this. Like, they're not going to, like, if you're playing a fully healthy Oklahoma City team, they don't have enough on this roster to catapult them to victory. If they're playing a fully healthy Denver team, I don't think they have enough on this roster to catapult them to victory. That's where you're just going to have to say, Rudy Gobert, lock up the interior, Naz Reid, help us out a little bit, and Anthony Edwards, go out there and ball. Like, that's essentially going to be the script against teams that have Minnesota has an okay starting 5. Like, I think Julius Randle is okay. Jaden McDaniels is okay. Mike Conley's old as dirt. Like, it's okay. I really think this is a team heavily, heavily reliant on the production of Anthony Edwards under the bright lights.
Well, they probably peaked in 2024, actually, because they probably shouldn't have made the conference finals this past year. Like, the Warriors probably had them beat before Steph went down. So, like, I think the Timberwolves, I know people, like, are still – my prediction for the Timberwolves is I think they don't make the conference finals again for the next, like, 3 years.
It's a fair prediction. I just think that it is interesting about whether they peaked or not. 2024, going into the playoffs, I picked them to win the championship because I thought that team had everything. And they did, looking back in hindsight. Like, that was a really, really well-balanced team. They just kind of blew the opportunity against Dallas. I think had they played Boston, Boston would have won, but they would have gone toe-to-toe.
You know, I 100% agree. I mean, that team was the best they've had for sure.
Yeah. I do want to talk about Denver really quickly before we move on to some other things and then wrap it up. I do think that, like, they were in a point where they won the championship and then they had some really bad off seasons. And it felt like, okay, maybe this whole Denver thing is over, back-to-back second-round exits. And it almost felt like they were repeating Milwaukee's script of winning a championship with this generational multi-time MVP winner. And then they were almost doing the same things in repeat. You know, losing in the second round, firing your head coach abruptly. Like, it felt like they were going down that same trajectory until this offseason, where they didn't make the panic trade, and they instead built out a really strong starting 5, made some smart trades to get them not as cap intensive, and they built a really good core around Jokic. I feel like this team, under new leaders in terms of the front office and the general manager and head coach, I feel like they're in a much better spot, and they've kind of resurrected their hopes of again having another window with Jokic.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to be so excited about what they did this offseason if you're a Nuggets fan. This team is good. I just think I don't think any of the moves they did would have me convinced enough that they're like for sure gonna beat the Thunder or the Warriors now. Um, I like what they did. Like they got better, but OKC, I think you have to think about OKC. They're on an upward trajectory. Like they're gonna be better this year than they were last year. Simply put, because Chet's now into year 3, J-Dub into year 4, right? So it's just like that. You almost like that series versus Denver in particular. They grew up a lot in. Like you can tell that was like Denver's last chance. Like Denver could have easily won that series like this past year, easily.
Yeah.
I mean they choked that. They there was a lot of opportunities, particularly game 4. You know how that game even got into overtime, like down the stretch there. I think in game what was it game? I think it was game 4 was the game that they should have won to take the 3-1 lead, and then they
was it game 7? They scored what, like 8 points in the first quarter?
The OKC was down to Denver. Denver had the lead like a 13-point lead after the first quarter, and then obviously like it flipped the other way because Alex Caruso was playing some greedy on Jokic, just flipped the other way. But I'm excited about what Denver did. I just think Oklahoma City's a different giant this year. I think they're a tougher team. They're a more experienced team, and like you had to get them before they got that swagger of winning a championship. But you had to get them then. Because that was a good opportunity to get them. I think Denver's better, but I don't know if they've done it. I don't know if they've done enough. Done enough to get over that hump.
All right, Ben, brace for impact about what I'm about to say. I think that the next few years are the final years that Oklahoma City can reasonably expect to win a championship.
What's that mean? Like how much years?
I think, like, in terms of the window, it's open. I think 2 years from now, it's going to be nearly closed.
I think quickly
this is going to spiral out of control. I think they can capitalize on a few championships, though, in the meantime. They are so expensive. It's not sustainable.
No, like, if you look at it, like, I'm telling you, I think for 2 years, for sure, the next 2 years, they will have the same players. Yeah, and I believe the CBA has an opt-out clause after the summer. Like the CBA has an opt-out after 2029. Like there's a way. If you look at like how it's, I don't think the Thunder are actually. I've done a lot of research like a couple months ago on this. I don't think the Thunder are going to be clipped by the set, other than losing Isaiah Hartenstein. Like I mean, but that's the loss they predict that they see coming. That's why they drafted a center this past draft in the lottery, or it was the 15th pick. They drafted a center. So I don't think we're in a world where. You know, sure, they may lose Caruso and him. Other than that, though, I mean, I don't think that's going to be the biggest blow, losing Alex Caruso in 2 years. Is that really going to be the thing that takes them down? I mean, we'll see. I don't think so.
I think here's the thing. If you're an Oklahoma City fan, they did what very few teams are able to do, where they didn't have their star players on a crazy contract, and they won during that time frame. There are so many teams that have a window with young players who aren't on that mega contract yet, and they don't win. And then all of a sudden they get on the mega contract, and it's much harder to build around them. They were able to do what most teams aren't able to do. J-Dub on a rookie deal, Chet on a rookie deal, and they did it. And he wasn't even as expensive as he was. So this is not trying to discredit Oklahoma City. They did what very few teams are able to do.
I just don't understand the point of that, because they have at least 2 years. Like this upcoming season, the next season, the same roster will be there.
Yeah.
Because then that's when Isaiah Hartenstein, I think his contract expires, because he's a team option after this year. So, look, I mean, you lose Isaiah Hartenstein. Wow. I mean, is the world going to end? I mean, I don't think the building's going to collapse in Oklahoma City. So I think, you know, they are prepared. They drafted a center this past draft. I forget his name. My bad. But I think he was the 15th pick, the 14th pick. So, you know, you're planning for the future with that.
For sure. I am curious to see how things do go in the future. Real quick, let's touch on some of the teams that feels like they're trying to extend their window a little bit. Golden State, the Clippers, the Lakers. You're a little bit higher on Golden State than I am, though. Again, you cannot ignore what did they finish 23-7 with Butler.
Yeah,
and Curry. We'll see if they'll still be as good as they both were. You know, I think Curry was a little bit more inconsistent last year. Not a lot of people like to talk about that. There were more games where it felt like Steph Curry wasn't a liability, but like wasn't making an impact than we've ever seen before. So I'm curious to see if that's a storyline that is kind of intensified this year. And I know you're really low on the Clippers, but I just love their depth. And I think depth screams 5th seed in the regular season and a first round exit in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, I bet the Clippers. I think, look, the West is so tough where somebody has to, and this happens every year with the NBA. Like, my logic on the Clippers at 10 was simply put, like, random sporadic crap happens each year. And you have to just, like, randomly pick some teams. Like, the logic behind that is not, there's not much logic to that, is the best way to put it. It's literally just pure vibes of, like, gut feeling of, like, something has to happen. And look, I think the durability health-wise definitely plays into, that potentially being a real possibility, because I mean, this team isn't, other than James Harden, I mean, this team doesn't have the most durable players. Bradley Beal with his back injury over the past couple seasons. Obviously Kawhi, Chris Paul, Chris Paul played 82 games, but Chris Paul's a non-factor really in this team. But outside of James, I do look at Brad and Kawhi and I say, like, are we going to be playing a lot of games this year?
Here's the thing though, Ben, is I feel like to say the 76ers are going to be the 3 seed and then say the Clippers are going to be the 10th seed by using the same logic.
No, okay, but Chase, the reality of the NBA predictions is there's sporadic stuff that happens. Like, I think that's why people play it way too safe with their predictions. I mean, what do you want me to, if I was going to play the safest predictions of what I think is the most likely to happen, sure, the Clippers probably are in the playoffs at like the 8 or 7, if it's like the most, but like, I think part of predicting is you have to have some weird, strange picks.
No,
that's
for sure.
where I'm going to LA at number 10. There's not much logic from like a pure basketball standpoint. They're a great basketball team. I just think that there's a high I'm just basically predicting that injuries are gonna kind of gonna collapse this team. And I'm not. That's not me. That sounds messed up. I'm not trying to bring bad energy or omen in the air, but.
I think another team you got to look out for is this the year that Wemby and the Spurs take that insane leap, right? I mean, at some point, we're going into year 3. If Wemby can stay healthy, you now have a full season with De'Aaron Fox. I do like a lot the construction of this roster. Like, Dylan Harper is coming off the bench. Like, listen, Dylan Harper is coming off the bench. Like, they have a lot of talent. Like, I don't know. Like, there may be too many moving parts where, like, they need another year where, like, maybe this is the year they make the playoffs, and then the next year is when they take that leap to the 2 seed, the 3 seed, something like that. But I think there is an outside chance that we see Wemby win MVP, Devin Vassell has a great scoring season. Steph Castle improves even more. Dylan Harper's Rookie of the Year caliber, and the Spurs are the 2nd seed in the Western Conference. Like, I do think there is a realistic world where that does happen.
No, I'm right on with you, Chase. There, I'm right on with you there. I do like the Spurs a lot. I mean, I think Wemby already broke out last year. I just think the team now, obviously with De'Aaron, I think they should. But the West is tough though. I think 7's pretty high for them. But I think they can hit that because I think Wemby's going to be like that guy, like a top 5 guy this year.
Right. I think that here's the thing. The West is very competitive. And this is where I really do think that there is that large disparity between the Western Conference and the Eastern Conference. I think that if Victor Wembanyama and the Spurs were in the Eastern Conference, I predict them to be the 2nd seed.
Okay, I mean, no, you have true. But I think the 3 seed. I would say behind Cleveland and New York still.
Yeah.
But the third seed, that's very valid. That's very valid.
I'm almost thinking, do you think Wemby's going to take another offensive leap? Like, it's not that I'd be underwhelmed with what he did last year. He was a top 10 player in the league when healthy, and he was a defensive menace. But, like, 24 points per game, like, could you see him getting to, like, 27, 28? And, like, all this
for sure. Yeah. But I also think now with Dylan Harper, with Stephon Castle, with De'Aaron Fox, I just think, like, is that much going to be asked of him? Is he going to be asked to make that, that offensive 1A leap? Like, I think he could probably potentially stay around like 25. He was at 24 and a half. So we'll round to 25. We'll give him 25. He was at 25 last year. Maybe he was at 27, 20. I mean, like you said, 27, 28, I think is realistic. And I think more than the production, though, the Spurs want to see the wins, right? If he averages 25 and they're the 7th seed, that's better than him averaging 28 and they're the 11th seed.
Right. So, right. You want to see at least if the core is working 100%. Real quick, just like really quick rapid fire stuff before we wrap things up. Memphis, I know we kind of have them in a similar boat, actually the exact same boat as the 11th seed. I feel like And again, I know you're only a big NBA guy. They're the Miami Dolphins of the NBA. They're a team that had their chance. They had their time as one of the top seeds, and they were like this young team, this explosive, flashy team. But now they've just completely fallen off the rails between the drama that comes with Ja and not being able to stay healthy. I'm not.
It's a shame. They were the 2 seed in February this year. They were the 2. It's a shame, man. It's a shame.
It's crazy. I just think at some point, like, they had their window and they were never really able to capitalize on it. I think it's officially closed. I think you're going to see them blow it up sooner rather than later. Why do you have New Orleans really much higher than me?
I like the core of Trey Murphy, Herb Jones, Zion. I think those 3 guys.
I mean, Zion's weaker defensively, but Trey Murphy and Herb Jones, that's a good defensive.
I think Trey Murphy is like one of the most underrated players in the league. He's a 22 point per game guy, I think, this year. I think he's gonna really, because when I would CJ now, I think he's really gonna. I mean, he was already like a 20 point per game guy. I think he's gonna be without CJ like a 22 point per game guy this year. He's just one of my favorite players to watch. I mean, such a good shooter, such a high IQ player, I think. So I think them 3, Herb Jones defensively, what he brings to the table, Zion, if he plays, like we think he's gonna play, we'll see. I think New Orleans is, I think, a team that, sure, they're gonna want to win though too, Chase, right? They're gonna want to win because they have to win. Their pick is going to Milwaukee or Atlanta.
Right.
They have to win, or it's going to Atlanta. Really, they have to win.
No, for sure. And I think that kind of that extra added element of pressure. And by the way, look out for Sadiq Bey. I think he's one of the most underrated kind of wing players in the NBA. He's finally going to be healthy again. He's a 15 point per game scorer when healthy. Maybe he even takes a leap as kind of one of the 6th men. And then you see Jordan Poole. They do have opportunities to score. Again, I question the Zion health and whether things just are, whether it's a good mesh there in New Orleans. But yeah, they're 100% a team. Utah's going to finish last. It's not going to be close. Phoenix is going to be bad. I like Portland. I think Denny Avdia is great. I just think they took a leap last year in the second half. And they're another team where, like, if you think a team like the Clippers is going to fall off, et cetera, maybe they sneak in.
Yeah, I like Portland. Yeah. Portland finished strong.
Yeah, no, I like them a lot too. Real quick, let's talk about the Lakers. I cannot believe we've gone this entire time we haven't talked about the Lakers. Are they legitimate contenders to you? I think we both have them.
No, unfortunately not. Yeah. I have them at the 5 seed. They could be the 4 seed. I mean, you swap them with Minnesota. That's how they can be the 4 seed. I just think between, like, I look at Denver, Golden State, OKC on another tier. Dorian Finney-Smith, I think that's a huge loss. I'm still skeptical about LeBron's health now. I mean, like, I think that's just a storyline to watch out for. And even if LeBron's healthy, I mean, you saw last year, LeBron and Luka were great. They were great. That tandem is great. I just don't trust everything around them. And I don't really know if DeAndre Ayton is the fix at center. I even more importantly, I think the wing defenders around Luka and LeBron. I think, like, you look at the defense around those 2 guys, I just think it's not really there.
No, I agree with you. I didn't love what they did in the offseason, to be honest with you. I thought they were going to do a little bit more. I think they're trying to not fully put all their eggs in the basket of, the LeBron James basket, because you have the Luka Doncic era for the next, 10 years perhaps. But at the same time, you have LeBron James, who is still a top 10 player in the world. For me, I think he's like a top 7 player in the world. So I think he's that good. And then you have Luka Doncic, who's right there too. They should try to capitalize. I mean, they have 4 of the top 10 players in the world, whether you like it or not, on their, or 2 of the top 10 players in the world, on their team. They should try to capitalize on that opportunity. I don't love DeAndre Ayton, as you mentioned. I don't love the wing defending, as you mentioned. And again, I am very, very big on depth. I don't see it there either. Jackson Hayes, we saw how that went last year. Jake LaRavia, it's just Rui Hachimura. I love my former Wizards, but he's fine. He's serviceable at best. They really are a LeBron and Luka and then whatever else team. I feel like it's kind of similar to what we saw with LeBron and AD in a sense. It's like LeBron, AD, now you have Austin Reeves, and then it's like everyone else, right? It's like kind of like a similar tandem. Yeah, like you have a third scorer, but like 2 elite players, and then can you figure something out after that?
The pieces don't even fit with that big 3 also is another conversation.
Right. Yeah. It feels like it's not a great system they got there. And we'll see if the JJ Redick being a great coach, whether that can last. Maybe they were kind of riding high in the trade last year, but I think we're gonna learn a lot more about the identity of this Lakers team this coming season. All right, I'm gonna take this off. Then we made a prediction last year. You did a good job remembering. I think you did pick the Thunder to win the whole thing. So why not try to run it back?
Yeah. So we're okay.
Title this June.
The Eastern Conference winner will be the New York Knicks. The Knicks are winning the Eastern Conference. The Knicks are going to hire a new coach. Mike Brown. I think Mikal Bridges gets utilized a lot better. I think that's a key storyline with the Knicks. Mikal Bridges, look out for him. And then I think in the Western Conference, it's like so hard to pick anybody but OKC.
Yeah.
But I want to be different. I want to be different. We're not going to pick OKC again. We're going Golden State. Knicks and Warriors in the finals. I'm going the Knicks to beat the Warriors in the championship this year. Pretty random finals. We're going Knicks over Warriors now.
The Knicks winning the title for the first time in 50-something years.
Yeah.
Wow. It's
their year. It has to be their year.
I'm going to think about this for another day until I officially release my predictions before the start of the season, because we are recording this on Monday night for those who are watching now toward the start of the NBA season. For now, I'm going to throw this out there and see if it sticks. I guess maybe I'll have two predictions if I do end up changing it by the time I officially make my predictions, which is tomorrow. I don't think the Thunder get back. We have a lot of parity in the NBA. I don't think the Thunder get there because I think that Denver does. I think Denver gets back there because I think Jokic is that great, and now they have a great core around him. I trust the coaching. I didn't like the Michael Malone firing. I think overall those changes have actually been a positive for them. And on the Eastern Conference side, I am going to swing, and I'm going to go Orlando. So I have Orlando, Denver in the NBA Finals, and I think the Nuggets go and take home the title.
I mean, if that's the hypothetical finals, I agree with you. I think Denver wins that in like a sweep. And then I think they sweep Orlando. I mean, I don't think I'm not high on Orlando at all because of I'm just not high on Paolo as like a number one. I don't know. We'll see. He's got to show a lot. He's got to show.
I did love the Desmond Bain trade. I thought they did some good things in the offseason.
Oh no, for sure. I mean, they needed shooting. They I mean, if you watch a Celtics series, they needed shooting. So that was a much needed pickup.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Ben, we're going to wrap things up right here on Chase Sports News. What a great episode. Just realized we went for 61, now soon to be 62 minutes on the air. So great to talk some NBA. We'd love to have you on mid-season. Guys, I mean, I'm sure you've seen all of Ben Casalino's work. If you haven't, links to his work are in the description below. Ben, it was a pleasure speaking to you again.
Pleasure, man.
NBA season.
Yep, always a pleasure, bro.
Always a pleasure. And hey, just throw it out there too. Washington Wizards, 2026 NBA champions? No, maybe, possibly.
2036.
I will take 2036. I will 100% take that, and I'll smile with it. All right, we're going to wrap it up here alongside Ben Casalino. I'm your host, Chase Coburn, saying so long from Chase Sports News. Take care, and happy basketball.